If you haven't already, through all of my technical difficulties, gotten your drink while I'm trying to wait for the audience to come back, y'all go ahead and get your Sunday easygoing mimosa or whatever it is that you're. Oh, thanks for the love. Yeah, so whatever it is that's gonna ease you into this Sunday evening. Oh, y'all, I get excited about all my shows, but I'm so excited about this one. This is an opportunity for me to unwind, talk to some really wonderful people that I have met in my journey. SK GROLL and Will Merrill. The both of them I met early on, like a lot of my guests, early on in my poetry career, 2016, 2017. And so it is just interesting. I'm sure they'll probably tell you the same. It's interesting to see how I've grown as an artist, and it's interesting to see how they have grown, not only in artistry but in our personal lives. How we've grown because we've all stayed in contact with each other. But anyway, so I just want to tell y'all a little bit about what's going on with me before I get started with my first guest. The first thing I want to get off my heart and my chest is my hair. Y'all, I know some of y'all gonna be like, but Toya, your hair cute. Let me tell y'all something, okay? That first, thank you, if that's what you think. This is not the hairstyle that I wanted. This is not what when I saw the weave on wedoit.com or wherever the hell I got this thing, when I saw it, this is not what the hell it looked like, okay? So I went on ahead and doctored it up because I was looking like, right before I got on here, probably about 45 minutes before I heard him and curled it, I was looking like an extra in the crack house in New Jack City. Y'all remember in New Jack City they had this crack house and they had some extra people in it? I looked like one of them. Shout out to all the extras that was playing crackheads in that movie. But yeah, so I had to hurry up and do something. So I personally wouldn't recommend this weave. And please don't act like y'all shocked that I wear weave. Y'all know I do. Weave, wigs, whatever fit on his head. That's what I'm gonna wear. But I don't know about this summer. Because baby, it's hot. I had my son come up in here and bring me a fan because y'all is hot. No, I'm not. I'm too young to be going through the changes. Well, you laughing too hard at that. Anyways, I ain't going through the change yet, but in a few years I'll be going through the changes. This heat be for a different reason. Speaking about my son, so y'all, this weekend we celebrated one of 3 celebrations that we're gonna have for our son who is graduating, coincidentally, on his father's 43rd birthday. And y'all, I'm not gonna cry. Nope, I'm not gonna do it. But it is something that is I don't know. I can't really explain. I can't put it into words. How it feels to first, have your firstborn, graduating from high school. I mean, especially when we originated from a part of Alexandria where only a third of the black men graduate from high school, and out of the third of black men that graduate from high school, only a tenth of that go on to graduate from college. So, I mean, here it is. My son has a full-paid scholarship to go to Louisiana Tech. He wants to major in engineering. I already claimed victory for him. I already know he's going to do very well. Very, very. Anybody who's met my baby. Yeah. This is not an accurate picture. But this him. And my other little monkey. So, y'all, if y'all want to donate to the cause, y'all can either, send it to me or buy some cheesecakes. Go to my Sibling Soul page. Buy some cheesecake. Because like I just said, we got a child that's graduating from high school. So anyway, without further ado, I should have given y'all enough time to go get your drinks and your mimosas or whatever it is that you're going to chill out with. Let me introduce my first guest. So when I met SK, we both were starting in education. Through the Teach BR program was for me, and I believe they were in a different program. SK, when you come on, you can correct me because I think you were in a different program, but we were in classes together. But anyway, so I feel like that was our even though that was our beginnings as teachers, we coincidentally met in the poetry world too. So we met in the teaching classroom as young teachers. Well, they young, I'm not. But and then we met again in the and I was like, oh my God, you know it. So you know we connected in so many areas, and then that is where the core of our friendship grew. You know, but when I tell you that this wonderful human being, as young as they are, they've lived a million lifetimes. They are a huge advocate in not just the Black Lives Matter community, but also in the LGBTQ community. They wear a lot of hats. They have gone on to be part of the PhD program. I want them to tell us more about that. You know, and I brought them on to educate not just myself, but everybody. There are a lot of us that need to be educated on the pronouns them, they, and their, transsexuality, transgender. You know, I really, really want to have a deeper understanding, and hopefully you guys will have a wonderful takeaway from this as well. So without further ado, I'm about to bring my homie on. I'm sending you a request. Lord, I hope this don't act stupid with me. Come on, IG guys. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Let me, it's the screen's still showing up. We're waiting to show up.
It's long. Is it acting right?
It's acting right. Can you see me?
Look at it. It's God. Come on.
Hi, Toy. Hi. It's good to see you and be here. I'm glad I can finally hear you after the beginning. I couldn't hear you.
I know. Like, okay, so literally, I'm always doing the praises to this phone, the trap phone. But it was this one that let me down today. I'm like, it wouldn't act right. My ring light was acting like, I guess it's mad because it's in my face and not on my finger. It wants to marry me. It wants to be that type of ring. I don't know. It was just a lot going on in here. But anyway, tell the audience a little bit about SK. Let us get to know you.
Okay. So like Toy said, my name is SK, and I use they them pronouns. I am a queer, gendery human being that has been in Baton Rouge for 7 years. And Toy and I have known each other just about that long.
Right.
Because like Toy said, we went to we did our teaching training together, and yeah, I came in as part of a Teach for America, but we did the same certification classes, and I taught public middle school for a couple of years, and ended up back in graduate school for anthropology, which is what I had been doing before becoming a middle school teacher, and then now I'm still doing that. I got my master's, and I'm working on my PhD in cultural anthropology. And alongside of that, I've spent, I don't know, probably a lot of the last 7 years hanging out in poetry spaces with Toy and other really cool people that we.
And I'm humbled and honored. I am. And you guys, multiple reasons why I have SK. But before I got SK to come on, I wanted to make sure that they were comfortable with the conversations, man, because what we're about to talk about is very personal, and there are certain people that are still not comfortable having the conversation, or they're in the closet, they're not comfortable coming out, and I really feel like this was important. So thank you, SK, for allowing us to literally be in your space. This is your space, so thank you for that.
This is your space. So I appreciate you wanting to have this conversation, and also the way that you show care, from when you asked me to do this through, when we talked about what we were going to talk about today. And also just all the other times that we've talked, I feel like we learn together really well, and we share ideas in a way that always feels like community. And I really appreciate how you conversation. So I'm super excited to, let's talk.
I appreciate that. Because look, you and I, and that's why we bonded, because we're wordsmiths. So we're very cautious with our words first, you know, and we realize that we're not the only human beings, that there are other human beings. So we want to make sure that we understand people. So I want to have a deeper understanding of people. And a couple of years ago, there was a picture that I posted. And you know my personality, especially when I'm really close to you, I'm like, I love you like a sister. I love you like a brother, you know, and you were very kind to tell me, like, I appreciate you thinking of me like this. But that was my first time being introduced to the non-binary world, is when you said that. And I was like, oh, wait, okay. So for those who have no clue what we're talking about, first, educate us on that. What is the definition of non-binary? What is it?
Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna do an imperfect job through this whole conversation. So for everybody now, and for everybody that maybe watches this later, I want to clarify that this is an imperfect conversation between two people who care and are trying to, you know, have a conversation.
They're gonna disclaimer. There y'all go.
I think about non-binary as like not everyone, but most people are familiar with like, you know, men and women or boys and girls, right? And non-binary just means that you don't fall into that binary, right? Like binary means two. So there's men and women or boys and girls or whatever. There's those two kind of genders that everybody knows about and gets assigned at birth and whatever. And non-binary for me just means something else. And so I fall into that category of something else. And there's some folks that fall into this category of non-binary, and they identify as trans, as like transgender, part of the trans community. And there's some folks that are non-binary and may or may not identify as trans. But there's also transgender people who identify as like a transgender man or a transgender woman. And those would be binary trans folks, right? Like, it just binary means you like fall into that, you know, men or woman. And then non-binary means you would be something else.
Okay. And see, and look, I remember when I told you that you probably for me was gonna need pictures. Like, and in this picture, yeah. But you know, we don't have the luxury of that. So, you know, but you did an excellent job explaining it. It's just that I'm a visual person, so I'm still, that's why my thinking cap is kind of like you know. So give a scenario for people like me that's still a little slow. So, like, okay, let me give you a scenario. You correct me. All right, because I know there has been like this big old, oh my God, they just got the boys' bathroom and they got the girls' bathroom. All right, and here you go. You go into the bathroom and you just want to go to the bathroom. Like, come on, I just want to pee. But that being an issue, for what, how, okay, I don't even know how I'm going to ask this. Like, literally, like, would you choose a bathroom? Like, how would that even go? I already know how you're going to answer this, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm most comfortable in places where there's like unisex or single sex or, you know, single use stall bathrooms. That's easy. I, you know, mostly use women's bathrooms because I think men would look crazy at me if I tried to walk in. But that's part of the danger, right? That's part of the danger around this, of people. I mean, let me say this. Let me back up maybe and try to figure out how to say this. The conversation about bathrooms feels like a really big to do about nothing. Absolutely. Like about nothing, right? Because the panic in the conversation is like, oh my God, what if a man would walk into the women's restroom and hurt women? And I think that the way that language gets operationalized is like, it hurts trans women. It also just hurts trans people in general because it casts trans people as predators, or like puts them in the same box as predators. And so it's like, people just need to pee. Like I don't know about you. I don't know about some of these people in, you know, state legislatures all over the country, but I just need to pee sometimes. And I
know it's illegal to pee outside in front of your store.
Right. So I think it's like this hyper fixation on it, and I'm like, you know, I think it's frustrating, and it's frustrating that it gets a lot of people really riled up about stuff that doesn't matter. Because most people are in the bathroom or just trying to go to the bathroom and not talk to anyone else in there. Unless you're drinking at a club, in which case, you're trying to talk to everybody and be their best friend.
Like, yo, what's up? Hey, no,
Yeah.
I don't need people in the bathroom. Go in and go out and on business. You don't know what I'm carrying because I'm in the bathroom and on business. But I mean, and I feel, but it kind of, I know that the conversation, I wanted to go however it was going to go, but I was trying to have a deeper understanding when you said a non-binary person can be a trans man or a trans woman. Because in my mind, non-binary is, for lack of better words, a gray area. So you have a black area, a white area, and you have a gray area.
Yeah.
But there are levels to the gray area.
Yeah. Not to play on like the whole rainbow metaphor for something queer, but like there's gray, and then there's just like a billion other colors, right? Like I saw this at one point somebody talking about, and it might have been Erica Hart, who is on Instagram as I Heart Erica. Hart is HART, and is like, they're a phenomenal non-binary Black femme educator who just blows my mind with the way that they like hold space and do this kind of work around like race, gender, and sexuality. But I think about non-binary as like, well, there are however many billion people on this world, right? And so there are probably that many genders in this world. Like, your gender is both like how you feel about yourself and your identity and your personhood, but it's also like the way that you inhabit space. It's the way that you exist in a room, or the way that you exist in your relationships, or the way that you engage with like family roles, and the way that you move through tasks, and the way that you want to be perceived, and that you wear your clothes, and that you whatever, right? Like, I think that like gender is both like the societal expectations and also just like how you exist in the world. And so like we all exist in the world so wildly differently. Like, I could be sitting in a room full of a bunch of non-binary trans people, and there's like still 7 different genders in that room if there's 7 different people. But you could be sitting in a room at like a women's event and see there's 7 different genders in this room, even though there's this category of woman there, because people are embodying their gender differently, right? And like, that's not to dismiss people who feel like women, who feel like men, and that's their identity. But to say like, there's just so many ways to be in the world. And so non-binariness is also like, I want more categories. I want more words to describe myself than just the ones that I've been given. And it might be that, for some people, like me, I feel very gender fluid. And so some days I'll feel more feminine. Some days I'll feel more masculine. Some days I'll feel like I don't really have a gender. Or that I have like a lot of genders, right? And I think about that like gendery, just add a Y to it. And it's like, yeah, I'm gendery. But, or I like thinking about like, trans people in trans communities, or people that think about gender as, they're gendery, But
I love it.
Yeah, it's like, if you're thinking about gender and you're inhabiting your gender in different ways, you're playing with it, like, cool, you're gendery. But there's also trans folks who feel very set, and like, I am a man, of trans experience, or I'm a woman of trans experience, that that is their identity. And it's very fixed in a way that many cis just means you identify with what you were assigned at birth. If you were assigned female at birth, you might identify as a woman. If you were assigned male at birth, you might identify as a man. There's plenty of people that feel like real fixed, like, yeah, man or woman, it describes me, we got it. And then there's the rest of us.
And I love trans history and gender. I like gendery too. I'm incorporating that into my language as well. SK is that cool. Making up words. I don't know, is that a bad word? It is. We're gonna fill aside for you.
Barking it. Hold on 1 second.
Go right ahead.
Sorry about that.
That little small commercial break. I should have been playing elevator music. But I did have, let me see, because, you know, I told you I'm like a balloon. You already know this. I'm like a balloon. I fly everywhere. So I kind of had this little scripted. And so
Yeah.
I have questions. Now, one question I had was, when did you, I guess, quote unquote, discover that you were non-binary?
Ooh, it was in poetry spaces, Toy. I think about this all the time. I was not in a space ever where I saw non-binary people existing, like physically, until there was non-binary poets that came through Eclectic Truth, right? They were non-binary poets that were touring, and Eclectic Truth was one of their stops, and they, you know, spent an evening at the Firehouse Gallery sharing poems with us. And it was that moment, you know, there's a musical, Fun Home, that is like follows like a young queer girl, and this, like, there's this moment called Ring of Keys where, like, in the musical and in the graphic novel, it's like she sees this like older person that like is a queer person and she can recognize it, and it's this Ring of Keys moment. And for me, that was my Ring of Keys moment, where I was like, I saw somebody and they were playing with gender presentation and how they existed in space. And before that, I had seen people on the internet, like I'd seen poets on YouTube, I'd seen people on Tumblr back in the Tumblr days of the internet, I'd seen, you know, all different social media sites.
I got in Tumblr.
And that was like, I think that's, you know, it dates me in terms of like when I was in high school and college, and, you know, just Tumblr was a thing for a minute. But I really, like, that was the space where, like, I first saw somebody in person and I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. Like, you know, that moment where it's like, oh, well, that's interesting.
It's like sparks connected.
Right. And it's like, it's that moment where I think it's a very queer feeling. I would assert that straight people have this feeling too, but I know it as a queer feeling of like, I don't know if I'm attracted to that or I want to be that, but I like it, and let's talk more. Right. And so it was, for me, it was very like, oh, you know, oh, like seeing different people and like poets coming through and being like, oh, that's cool. Like I'm in whatever they're doing with gender. Maybe that's not exactly me, but I want to do my own thing with gender around this. And so it just was really like seeing people in physical spaces, and then, you know, getting into just like moments where I could play around with that, where I felt safe, like talking with friends or talking with partners, you know, talking with other poets and just being like, hey, like, I want to try on these pronouns, or, you know, I want to try out presenting this way, or, you know, I want to mess with my appearance this way. And people being like, I mean, for the most part, just so affirming of just like, cool, let's do it. What feels good for you? And like, I will forever and ever credit, like, I think all of the partners that I've had, but especially Shannon Kenny, who is just, you know, an incredible person. And but like our partnership has been a place where I've been able to just like try on different things consistently and been like unequivocally supported. And so it was a couple years ago. Okay, so that I am turning 29 this week. I look,
Turn up a notch.
I'm late.
Last year in the 20s.
I'm off ramp of the 20s, but I was probably 20. I was probably like 24 when I started thinking about a non-binary identity, and I was probably 25-ish when I started coming out to people and being like, hey, I'm going to go by SK. I'm going to use these pronouns. And it was like a gradual process, right? Like those of you who I've known for, like, there's people on this chat that I've known for a while or been around spaces with, and like, it's been a process, right? Yeah, that's my, what other questions?
Well, no. Look, you know, I can talk, but this is your space. So at first I was looking at the comments. Alejandro said, I don't know if I'm attracted to that or if I want to be that. SK. That's Alejandro's takeaway from today. I love it. Will Johnson says happy early birthday. Will, I don't remember what the hell I did when I was 29. Do you? We'll talk about that later. I didn't even know so long ago. But, you know, I feel like what you said was so pertinent. You know, just
Okay.
the SK to the second power coming through. Come on. No, I love y'all both. But no, what piggybacking off of what you were saying, you know, eclectic truth. You guys who have been watching Shakers and Movies and Soulful Expression, y'all will often hear me bring up eclectic truth and how important it was to me. You know, it was truly, and I'm speaking of it in past tense only because it's been a while since we've been in space, not because it's over. It's not over. Hopefully it'll be coming back. But you know, the way we had it, we were in a building every Tuesday spitting poetry. Some of my poems were hits, yay! Some of them not so much, but that's okay because you had a collected truth and it was a safe space. We might laugh at you later, but it was a safe space while you was on that mic. But not only that, you know, I wish we had like a mic in the after talks, like when 9:30, 10 o'clock hit, and we're putting up the chairs, and now we're outside on the stoops because we got kicked out. But we don't want to go home, and then we got, you know, Donnie with all his wisdom sitting there talking to us. You know, that right there added the cherry on the top to the experience. So that was probably the sparks for me, you know, where I connected with people. You know,
it was like those moments, right? Like not just the poem that somebody, you know, spits on the mic. It's also just that moment afterwards where you get to talk to them and like, you know, get to know them, or you see the same people like week by week. And like the last 7 years, like Eclectic Truth has been like the consistent part of like my time in Baton Rouge, right? It's been the consistent thing about my 20s. It's like I've also done school, I've also done teaching, but like the people that like we've shared space with in that gallery, like I think that's like have seen each other grow in these different ways. Like we might not all be in those same spaces every week anymore, but like we still connect. And like and it's been a group of people that like I've been really grateful to grow with a group of people, like to see everyone doing their own thing and to see everyone going through different iterations of themselves and to still be supporting each other in those different iterations. Like that's cool as hell.
And it's important. And see, that goes into another question that I had because, you know, being part of, I mean, speaking as a Black woman, and I know a lot of things that you said in the first few minutes sounded familiar. Sounded very familiar. Now, I haven't personally had any issues with the bathroom. But that doesn't mean that my race hasn't had personal issues with the bathroom. I read a book, and I cannot think of the name of it right now, but it was a very short read. It was like 100 pages, and it was about a white man who lived, and it's a true story. He lived as a Black man just so he could write about it, you know, because he was in the North and he heard that things were okay in the South. So he traveled he pigmented his skin, he shaved his head, and he moved down in the early 1950s down to the South. And the story that he wrote brought me to tears, you know, and that's what he talked about. The bathroom. That like was prevalent like throughout the book. Like he just couldn't go to the bathroom. He's like he would have to drive miles like to go to, because there was no place to go for him, you know. And it's just what you were saying, like, you know, even me trying to have a deeper understanding, the comparison analogy I used made it seem like, you know, transgenders, non-binaries were predators. Like, no, like that's not the case. I even heard, and I know that this is not intentional, but it's still wrong. You know, when they're like, well, no, don't let such and such babysit. You know, they're gay. You know that. Like, what does that mean? Like, do you think that rubs off? Do you think that's a bad? Like, you know, it makes you do have a deeper conversation. Like, what is your thought process? What do you think they're gonna do to the child? Like, why would you say that? But that is why this conversation is so important, because it is that fear of whatever that does need to be discussed. Why are you afraid? And then secondly, we need to talk. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works out. Like, I think that if it was just as easy for somebody just to walk into a room or walk into a space, and now all of a sudden, you know, I am no longer whatever the world thinks bad of me. I'm just this perfect being. Then we would all do it. I would be, who the hell would I be? I don't even know who the hell I would be. Who's perfect in this world? A white man? We said this.
They're not perfect, but
tall white man.
Yeah.
Straight white man, rich white man, whatever. But no. We would be whatever the world thinks is this perfect being. But no, we're not. You know, we're not what the world thinks is perfect, but we are. We're all beautiful. We're all perfect. Don't get me started on a poem. I'll do a poem on here. But anyway, let me go back. So my service is in and out. I love this convo. Oh my, look, I don't know. Just because my internet is acting crazy. I don't know if it's necessarily you. SK service. Can you see me?
Mine. I can see you. It like.
Or is it going in and out?
A minute ago. It was mostly in, but it was there was like one or two moments out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's because Instagram gets a little busy when I get busy, when I get on my.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, I think about this all the time when I teach anthropology, right? Because it's a lot of qualitative research. It's a lot of people doing like field work to learn about other people's lives, or like historically, anthropology has been people going elsewhere and go and learn about other people's lives. And I think in some ways that I would call like anthropology problematic, I would also maybe call, or definitely call, that the man who's a white man who puts on black, you know, kind of problematic. And I think it's like, I don't want to participate in taking somebody else's narrative, right? Like I don't want to, I especially don't want to like equivocate gender and race. Like as a white trans person, I don't want to equivocate gender and race because like in the US, like white supremacist capitalist culture, like race is just foregrounded in so many ways that systems are set up and people interact with each other. But it also means that like, you know, we think about like different types of violence, right? And structural violence like mimics itself. And so structural violence, like in, you know, things around bathrooms, things around right now in Louisiana, we had bills last week where there was a bill that was defeated for the moment, trying to ban transgender youth from getting gender affirming healthcare. There was a bill that went on to be passed, and it's not passed, it's moved on to the next stage, about banning transgender youth from sports teams, both in K-12 and in college spaces. And it's this moment where a group of people is being really singled out and demonized for a particular political narrative, and to support a power structure that's in place, to support a really conservative movement and ideology. And like I think it's hard. I both want like to spend a lot of time talking about that and being like F this, and also to be like, but trans people are so cool, and we could just talk about trans joy for an hour. We could just talk about people who are doing creative and cool things with their gender and their art for an hour, and like F the people who mean that we have to talk about bathrooms and why trans people aren't predators, right? Because trans people aren't predators. Trans people are just people.
Exclamation point.
Yeah, and I think that like the other thing that I'll say is like I asked this I saw this question on the internet a while ago, but it was like in terms of like self-care, self-doubt, like if I have a negative feeling about myself, who benefits from that feeling? And I think about this in terms of if I have a negative feeling about somebody else that was taught to me by society, who benefits from that feeling, right? My prejudice against, X, Y, or Z group was probably not innate in me as a human being, right? It was conditioned into me, but for what purpose, right? But like for what purpose and why? And I think that like there's a whole lot that people will do to like maintain a system, maintain a structure. And like at this point in time with gender, it's maintaining a structure that transgender people are kept out of, and then they're therefore like, you know, considered monstrous, considered other, kept away from resources, or like fetishized in a weird way. And none of that helps trans people live and be joyful, right? That's what we're trying to do. Transgender people are just trying to live and be joyful.
Right, like everybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, and that should be on a t-shirt. I just want to live, laugh, and love like y'all motherfuckers. That should be on the shirt. Like,
well, you know, I have because gender is expansive, and I love it because it's like gender is so many different things. It's not just, you know, and I think this is the big takeaway. Like I wish I could pull up like little graphics and whatever else on this little platform, but you know, gender is, it's not what's in somebody's pants. It's not what's in, you know, it's not what's on somebody's birth certificate. It's whatever they say it is. Because this is the other part of this, is like an anthropologist, I'll just say that like gender's not real. And the genders that we have right now as like man and woman, and those are that's it. That's all the options. That comes from a particular Eurocentric patriarchal system, right? So that's not a global understanding of gender. There's a lot of different, you know, cultures and societies where that doesn't make sense. There's more than two. And that gender roles, like we know going from society to society, you know, the things that men do or the things that women do, those change, right? Like they're not universal. And so the way that we categorize like man and woman in our society is not the only way to do it. And in fact, it's just this legacy of Eurocentric white supremacy, which is wild.
I swear I learned. I told you my takeaway from you every time I talk. It's just like, because you said some statistics too, friend, the other day that left me in tears. You know, and please share that at risk of me crying again. The statistics when it comes to our babies that go, you know, discover early. You know what? This man, I don't feel like that. What are those statistics?
I put on the spot now. I'm like, oh my God, what's the statistic? What's the number?
Oh no. Well, I mean, I'm gonna say, you know, we were talking. Okay, I know you're like, well, what were we talking about, Toy? Shoot. Like, oh well. Okay, so statistics about. I didn't think about homelessness.
Yeah.
No, because I mean, I guess as a mother,
yeah.
I wouldn't kick my children out. There's absolutely nothing you could do underneath the sun to make me kick you out, right? So I'm thinking from my standpoint how I would never do that, no matter what. I'm not every parent though. There are parents that, oh, if you're not this way, if you quote unquote embarrass me, how dare you live this life because you're embarrassing. You can't live in this home. Like, motherfucker, who are you? Like, anyway, but I didn't realize that the statistics were so high. Now I did know about the suicide rate. You know, being a teacher, because you know we're both in education, we're in education myself. But the statistics are that children who are gay, a lot of black, I don't know how to say it, that were born a male, have a higher suicide rate than any other group.
So yeah, I mean the rates for trans people that have thought about suicide are astronomically high, and they're way higher than even like gay or bisexual or lesbian cisgender people, so people who identify with the gender they were assigned at birth. And the rates of suicidal ideation or suicide attempt increase when you think about race alongside of that, right? So for Black and brown trans people, they increase when you have an unsupportive family. They increase when your community won't accept you, or when you do not have access to gender affirming healthcare. There are these different factors, and it's like obvious stuff, right? If somebody isn't able to exist in a way that like affirms them and celebrates them, then their chances of surviving, you know, are gonna decrease. Like, I mean, and I think that, you know, we can layer that the really tragic statistics around suicide and suicidal ideation with the just direct violence. And when we think about like the rates that Black and brown trans women are murdered, you know, specifically like trans women and Black and brown trans women face an exorbitant amount of violence. And I think that that's like, there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of people that look into that. I could talk about like the way that masculinity is threatened, or the way that like, you know, all these cultural narratives that talk about trans people as predators, or as, you know, as a, you know, man in a dress, rather than like honoring the, you know, the wholeness of those individual people. You know, the violence is astronomical, and I think that it's really hard. It's really hard to think about.
And I think it's not, well, also too, you don't know what you don't know, you know. There's people like me, you know, who I am an advocate for the LGBTQ community. And like I told you the other day, I realized there was some other letters that was added. Now I know I'm missing right now, but I mean, I am, you know, of course I have family members, I have friends, and I want to have a deeper understanding of, you know, how they feel, and, you know, be empathetic or sympathetic to them. I do, you know, and it starts with stuff like this. It starts with having a conversation with somebody who's on that side of the table. You know, you're never going to grow. You're never going to sharpen your mind if if you're only talking to people who think like you. You're never going. We're going to continue to have people having conversations where they got the boys' bathroom and the girls' bathroom. We're still going to have these conversations, and we're not going to be able to celebrate the beauty of what is my favorite. Taylor, are you still on here? Because Taylor, we watched this movie of her. You might know who we're talking about. She has a unibrow. She's a Spanish artist. God, oh Lord. But anyway, her art is celebrated. This is back in like the early 19.
Yeah, Frida Kahlo.
Yes.
Yeah, it took me a second. Yeah.
Look, I knew you would know. Yeah. I ain't got to ask the hip hop question anymore. You remember that? Yes, love, because I love art, but you love art even more when you understand the artist. So I'm saying this like we're all walking canvases. We all have our artwork. You know, there's some people that brilliantly put it on them for display. Like I was talking about my artwork with my hair today. I'm looking at your artwork or how you always are putting, and you never wear the same thing, honey. Like you always wear put together.
Don't put that on me, because they'll see me in a shirt. They'll be like, huh? I think that, well, this is the thing, right? And I talked to you about this when we were talking about this conversation. I want to say it because I posted that I would say it. Trans people are alchemists. They are, you know, think about the level of creativity that it takes to, you know, to live in a society that says there's two genders. There's two ways to be in the world. You can either be a man or you can be a woman. And there's a right way to be a man and there's a right way to be a woman, right? And we know this because, you know, you see those consequences when someone does womanhood the wrong way, right? And they're, you know, they do womanhood the wrong way and they're called all types of names from all different directions if they're doing it wrong. Or if they do masculinity the wrong way and they're, you know, they're too emotional or too soft, too whatever, too girly, too, you know. But you think about just being in a society where you see those as the two options and you think, I'm going to do something different. Or I wasn't given one of those two paths. I'm going to pick the other one, right? Like, just the sheer like audacity and artistry that it takes to do that. Like this is just a me personally thing. I think trans people are wizards and alchemists and are joyful creatives, because just to like do that. And I think it's just true for poets too, right? Like to take the tatters of the world around you that does not work. It doesn't work, right? It doesn't work for so many of us, right? There's all these systems of oppression. There's wild inequality. There's just a society that keeps telling us we have to produce and be certain ways and be certain things. And instead to take the tatters of that and be like, I'm going to do this differently. And I'm going to wear the most creative outfit that I can possibly do in my spirit, in my body, like all these things with the shreds of what you've given me. And that's like, that's magic. Trans people are iconic alchemists. And I think that like there's people that are too, and that are like trying to make a better world, to like honor what is sacred in all of us, and to like to recognize every single person's humanity first before like whatever bullshit labels are being projected onto people's bodies, right? And like the systems that we exist in aren't set up to do that yet because they were made by, I don't know, shitty people in the past or good people that were shitty, you know, emulating around them. Some of them were shitty. I'm not going to write them a pass. But like, there's a lot of, there's just so much more that we could do in the world. If everyone was thinking about these, you know, about how to make a world that, like, the world that trans youth want to keep living in, the world that, you know, trans youth don't have higher rates of suicide or higher rates of bullying or you know, higher rates of physical violence and murder. That world is also a world that, like, celebrates all of us, right? That, like, is able to talk to my, like, white cisgender heterosexual brother, who I love very deeply. Like, shout out to Ben if he ever watches this, but like that, you know, it's also going to be a world that helps him because it's going to be a world that celebrates the absolute most sacred thing in all of us. And so, like, why don't we go for that world? You know, why don't we build that world in our, you know, in our little communities and conversations, but also in these big structures? Because it's just exhausting to keep having to fight this, like, bullshit violence, whether it's systemic or interpersonal. That's my whole, I don't know what question we started with or if I answered it.
It doesn't matter. You answered it. Whatever it was, you answered. And then some more. You know, I know we're winding down time, but that's what happens when you and I are together. Because I mean, you know, we used to, and I miss our brunches. We used to go to brunch with a time frame. I don't know if you remember this, but there was always a time frame that we never honored.
We were like from 10 to noon, 11 to 1. It's like 4 p.m.
Right, so like that a whole different group of people come in. Like, oh, that lovely couple that was sitting there earlier. Oh, they left like 4 hours ago. Oh, okay. But that's what happens when you and I get together. You know, so that's one thing I wanted to ask you, and then before we get to the hip hop, and then I'm gonna let you go because you are a peer candidate. There are things that you got to do. So first,
oh no,
you know that both our hearts. Do you know of any advocate groups or do you know any Instagram pages that they could join for those that are tuning in or that will tune in and watch this later? Not just for the youth. I mean, just an advocacy group. I can't say the word. That they can join, that they can look at either on social media or in real life.
Yeah. Okay. So there's. I'll just shout out Trans History LA because they were on this live earlier. That is run as an oral history project that is documenting trans narratives from Louisiana, right? Trans people who live in Louisiana exist here. And so shout out to Trans History LA. Also shout outs to Louisiana trans advocates. They've been holding it down for a long time. If you are a trans person and you want to seek a support group. If you are a parent or a friend or a family member of a trans person and you want to join affinity spaces, some of their spaces are not, they're for trans people specifically, but they do also have resources on how to support trans loved ones. Forum for Equality is also doing some advocacy around policies that are happening in the Louisiana state legislature, and they've got an Instagram. And then a cool one that I have just gotten linked up with is Tidal in New Orleans that's trying to do trans-led health education, because that's a passion of mine and my research area for my dissertation, to get better health care for trans people. It's not just related to transition, but just like, we got to go to the doctor sometime, just like we got to pee and we want to have our doctor not be shitty, you know?
Yeah, we have that conversation, right? Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll DM you the Instagram handles for some stuff. If,
Please, and I'm gonna post it on my page because I'm gonna say, I mean, if anybody is like me and a visual, some people all of a sudden they like, oh yeah, I got it, but it's like, huh? Okay, so yeah, give it to me. I'm gonna make a cute little flyer and I'll post it on my page. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll if I think of any more, I'll let you know before I DM you those.
Not a problem. And then also too, post it on your page because I want you to say your Instagram handle right quick while I get this question together.
Bread boy. Okay. Because I don't know, I changed it a while ago when I started baking a lot of bread, and it's still that way. One day it'll be Dr. Bread Boy when I finish this PhD, but we're not there yet.
Oh, I hate when it's just.
Can you see me?
SK, can you hear me?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Okay, all right. It was just going
I
in
can
and
hear
out.
you, yeah.
I'm gonna say but the audience might still heard what you said, even though I might not have.
Yeah, I mean, you can find me on Instagram. I'm around other places, but not really that much.
I'm gonna say because they do disappear from social media every once in a while. It's like
every once in a while, or not answer my phone. Yeah, and I'll send you those links. But Toy, I'm always so appreciative to talk to you. And I think the biggest thing that I want to tell folks is like, you know, the process of learning all the new language that, you know, is ever evolving about identity and about people in the world. Like, language is going to keep changing. The language that we use now, like, I don't say transsexual, I say trans, because transsexual is kind of an outdated word. Or I wouldn't say like a transgender as like a noun. I would say like a trans person, like as an adjective, and I would use just like trans. But language is going to keep changing. So just like feel comfortable Googling it. You know, Google's so great. It tells you so many things. And also, like, if somebody tells you the language to use for them, just use it. You know, just like super chill. Like if someone tells you like a name, some pronouns, like just do that one. And I can do a pronoun one.
Call me Toy. Like, just call me Toy. Why are you making this difficult? My name is Toy.
Hi. Yeah. All right.
All right. You ready, friend?
Oh. Let's do
yeah,
it.
but you're gonna get this. I'm gonna help you. Look, Taylor said she's like, we love you, Taylor.
Yeah, I love you, Taylor.
So it's 3 questions, friend. It's 3 questions. And it's hip hop is near and dear to me, of course. He's like, but I'm the white people. You're fine.
You broke there for a minute, but I'm assuming you were making fun of how white I am, which is valid.
You know, I'm teasing you what you said the other day. That's all. I'm just teasing you. But you'll be fine. But what it is that it's 3 questions, and I try to create the questions to have something to do with who I'm talking to. So okay. I'm talking to. Can you hear me? Because I wanted to be fair. I don't want you to be like, well, so I couldn't hear the question, so I guess I couldn't answer you. Okay. So since I'm talking to a PhD candidate, I wanted to find artists who either have a PhD or they have some kind of accolades, right? Because believe it or not, hip hop artists have those. Some of them. Like, who knew? One of them, I was shocked. I was like, really? I ain't gonna lie. I was. Okay. So this first one. You ready?
Okay.
All right. This college dropout has an honorary college degree.
That's it?
You need a hint?
Yeah, I'm gonna need it.
You need it? Okay. Oh, well, College Dropout, that was the name of his album.
Oh.
His very first album. And he was married to a Kardashian.
Oh my God. Oh, I know it. So I'm not gonna get it. LOL.
And he toured with Jay-Z.
Kanye. There we go.
Yay!
That was it. Took me a second. Yep.
Kanye has an honorary PhD.
Where's it from?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, look it up. I just remember he spoke with the Stones and everything. I was like, well, damn, I need to get my PhD thing going, huh? Anyway, but he has one. All right. So that's one friend. All right, next one. Now, this hip hop artist likes to see you do it with no hands, but he has his hand on an honorary PhD. Girl, where you moving? Gotta
Yeah,
make
I'm not.
it.
I have oh, you know what you do. I nope.
No hands. Like you can hear the song. Like I see you
I'm
taking
fully
to it.
like running through the song in my head, and
You can't remember the name of the artist because that's the only song I think he had. J and J.
yeah, Taylor, help me out. Who is this?
Oh, I can't give you no more hints, friend. I'm sorry. It's Waka Flocka.
Oh, I was never gonna know that one.
That's totally okay. Because I think that's the only song that I know by that too.
I think it's first two verses from that, but I couldn't name that person.
Like, who? Waka Flocka? Oh, shoot. Go ahead and give me the
So I told you I was good at this game.
That's okay. I was just shocked that Waka Flocka has an honorary PhD too. His in humanitarian and philanthropy. Philanthropy.
Dang. Yeah. Thank you, Taylor, for this indignance because I didn't know it.
You said Waka? I know. Waka has a PhD. We all losing. Anyway. We all losing. All right. Last one. Now this is before your time. I hate to say it, so I'm gonna try my best to help you with this. Because this is going with Murder Inc. Murder, the artist that really made Murder Inc. He has a degree from Harvard in business. Okay. He had songs with oh shoot, what's that girl with the unibrow? I can't even think of her name. Can Waka even spell philanthropy? Williams. Oh Lord, I know, right? Shoot, he got a whole PhD out here. So but he is the head artist, was the head artist of Murder Inc. He got this ongoing 20-year beef with 50 Cent. That's so stupid and ridiculous. I just don't do it. Taylor Will came for him. Can Walker spell PhD?
Is it DMX? No.
No, it's not DMX. But that was a good try. Ja Rule. Ja Rule has a degree from Harvard, ladies and gentlemen, in business.
Ja has a degree from Harvard?
Who knew? He needs to go use that bitch because he ain't making music no more. Because 50 Cent did kill that dude's career.
Yeah, that thing should have told me. But you know, you'd think he would use his business degree to
help his business.
Was it business?
To help his business. I would think so, but you know what? It's so funny. I think it was 50 Cent that said he doesn't have a degree from Harvard. That was shots at Ja Rule. He doesn't have a degree from Harvard, but he hires people with Harvard degrees.
Well, you stumped me 3 out of 3, predictably.
That's okay. At least you knew who the people were. You weren't like, well, who is that? No. So you're good. Will was like, wait. Y'all little people dropping it. I know everybody's like, what the hell? Where you get? I know y'all are going to go Google this. I found it on Google, y'all.
Thank you. Those people aren't like, oh, I knew this because yeah.
Nobody was like, what? Everybody is like, what?
All right, Toy, which of those did you know before you Googled this? Did you Google all of those?
I did not know about Waka.
Okay.
That's shocking. But I knew about the other two.
Okay.
I knew about the other two. But yeah, I was so when you know, and you got that one. That's the one you got. Right? No, you got the one by Kanye. You got the one by Kanye. But yeah, Waka, I'm not mad at you because I wouldn't have got that either. Like, what? Oh, they were just giving out PhDs, huh? Okay. Well, anyway, that's our time.
It's been so. I'll leave this. I can't wait to see Will Merrill's next. Lots of love to you, Toy. Always.
I love you, and we will connect soon. And I'm
Oh
gonna
yeah.
I got your order. I'm gonna text you.
Oh,
I'm gonna text you as soon as
we'll talk
everything goes.
cheesecakes after. Yeah, shout out to Choice Cheesecakes. If you're watching this, please go get you some. All right. Love you. Bye.
All right. Love you. And y'all, do not go anywhere. Literally, I'm going to log off and give it 60 seconds. Come back on, not even, because Instagram kicks us off in an hour. That's what they do. And so before it starts doing my little time and everything, I'm going to go ahead and X out so I can have my next guest, Will Mirror, who's in the audience right now, so he can have his time. So I'm closing out and I'm coming right back on. Y'all go to your potty break and come back at 8.